Hey leaders, thank you for teaching this week, February 26th. We are on our third lesson in our series of Hebrews, which this time has us in Hebrews 3, verses 1 through 6. And we're going to be talking about those texts. This part of the text talks about Moses and that while Moses was very important, God used him to do incredible God jobs. He was not God. Jesus is God. And the author of Hebrews is taking this opportunity to again point to the supremacy of Jesus, to point to Jesus is the Messiah, Jesus is God. Therefore, he is the best. We don't have to wonder if he's the Messiah. He is the Messiah, because that's the whole point of the book. And he talks back and points back to looking at Abraham. You know, the Old Testament is constantly referring to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as the fathers, and then Moses as the rescuer, right? And so the author of Hebrews is pointing back to that same point, to the Moses. It says in verse 5, Moses was faithful as one who serves in the house of God. He was important, guys. Nobody's saying he wasn't important, but he's also saying, but Moses is not Jesus. Verse 2 says, Moses was faithful in everything he did in the house of God. In the same way, Jesus was faithful to God who appointed him. The person who builds a house has greater honor than the house itself. In the same way, Jesus has been found worthy of greater honor than Moses. So it's just all about, and this is hard for us as New Testament Christians, is that going to stay? New Testament Christians, because we know Jesus is more important than Moses, right? So this is one of those things that's a little bit of a hard concept for the kids, and they're kind of like, yeah, duh, okay, moving on. Whereas some other concepts in Hebrews are way more abstract and harder to grab onto. This one is a little bit easier, but it is helping them to understand, and that's kind of the job of this one, the context in which the author is speaking into, and reminding them these books aren't just for us. These books teach us things that we need to know and that we need to remember, but the context into which they were written, this was like mind-blowing. This mattered a lot. And so helping our kids remember that. So application activities this week, we have the creative one is going to be listening to Psalm 95. I would encourage you to probably read it through first and talk through some of the emotions that are evoked in that. There's a link that you can use to a musical version of Psalm 95, or if you're a really good oral interpretive reader, read it again, whichever you prefer. Maybe you're going to do this several times and use several methods. That would be awesome. There's actually several musical versions of Psalm 95. If you want to just go do a search and make a playlist of Psalm 95 songs, go for it. They are going to paint or draw or write and do kind of abstract art based on what does Psalm 95 evoke in you? The colors, the shapes, the lines, how dark the colors are, whatever. It's going to be pretty abstract. Just helping them get in touch with what does this feel like? What does it make my brain think and feel like while I wonder and I ponder and I think? So that'll be painting or drawing, whichever they want to do. Physical game is going to be your choice of either Pictionary or charades. You'll know your kids best and which one you think they'll do. They are going to be deciding after they break into teams and they're acting or drawing or whatever, was this Moses or was this Jesus? And you'll have a list of things to pull from a bag or a bowl or whatever that are Jesus things and Moses things. So different things that they can do that with. So painting and creative or drawing and Pictionary or charades in the physical activity should be a fun week. Should be one that's a little bit easier for them to grab onto, but is a great, great opportunity to remind them of context. So again, thank you for leading this weekend.